Hello everyone, my name is Brennan Rich. I am a third-year architecture student at Florida Atlantic University and the founder and creative director of Escape Designs, which is a conceptual theme park interior and architectural design group on YouTube. So feel free to check out our work on the YouTube page. And this is a sneak preview of what we're working on here at Escape Designs. I'll just kind of fly through here a little bit for you guys. And the reason I'm making this video is because I had a few friends at my studio at architecture at FAU, and they want to know how I create all these crazy designs in Blender. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Today we're going to be focusing on architectural techniques in Blender, so like the stairs, the walls, and whatever. So I'll show you how to do these stairs here, and some roof designs and whatever. I don't want to show too much of this project because this is this is an upcoming project that we will be releasing in Unreal Engine, hopefully, if everything goes right. So this can be exciting. Anyway, I'll close this so my memory doesn't go away in my computer. So here's another project. This is a recent one we did, and this is also done with Blender. You can see there's a little bit of graphic representation here with the line work and these ghosted view over here. So this is another thing you can do in Blender, which is like these graphics. And to give you an idea of what else you can do is you could create diagrams like this in Blender. I'm just showing you now like what's possible to give you an idea. You can do these here. This one's my favorite. So just kind of going through here, showing you what's... This is another one. And then you could do floor plans and whatnot. So you can pretty much do anything in Blender. It's really the sky is the limit, you know? Or really your talent is the limit, or your skills are the limit. What you know. You know, you just keep learning. By the way, Blender is a free and open source software. So, I mean, anyone could download this. And it's completely free. And it has a great community online, especially on Discord that I'm a part of. And feel free to join my personal Discord, Escape Designs. I'll have a link in the description if you have any questions or whatnot. So I know this is kind of a long intro, but I just kind of want to give you an idea of like what you're getting into, what's possible with Blender and whatnot. You know, this is a library. I'll just kind of fly through here real quick. I don't want this video to be too long. Right, so you got this, you got like chandeliers up here, and then you got this area in here, little workshop, recording studio, and then we'll close this. And here's one of my favorite ones, and we're going to be doing this type of roof design in this tutorial today. You can see it's pretty detailed. You have the brick, you have all of the woodwork going on here with the fasteners and whatnot. So yeah, just kind of fly through here. And yeah. Alright. I think that's it. Is that it? Yes, let me close this one too. Alright. So, oh, and one more thing. So this is another house. This is the house I showed earlier, actually. But this is a exploded axonometric drawing that's animated. I'll be probably showing you how to do this as well. Sorry for the long intro. But yeah, you need to do this type of stuff here. And then if you want to scale it down, you can scale it down in Blender. And then this is how I do my physical models. Is I explode it like this, and I take each individual piece. And I do a UV unwrap, and you have this UV unwrap, and you can go to UV, export UV layout. I know this is just a quick overview, and then you can export it as an SVG, scale it, whatever, and then you have your templates to cut out, or laser cut. That's what I do. I have a laser cutter, and you can laser cut all these pieces and put it together, which is what I did. And it was very stressless, stress-free. It went together pretty fast, and it was just overall a more enjoyable experience. So yeah. Alright, so let's begin. What we're going to do is we're just going to I'm just gonna give you the basics of Blender and show you how to make a wall, right? So let's say, okay, so first of all, so what you're given here first is a light. So if you go to render mode, you have a light, right? This is render mode up here. And then this is your camera. So if you want to get into your camera, you hit this button. This is where you're going to be rendering from, right? And then you have your default cube. This is just a cube that's here, you know, just in every file. But we're going to delete everything because we don't need any of those for this tutorial. But what we are going to do is we're going to start to make a wall. I think, in my opinion, the best method to make a wall is this. You're going to do Shift A. By the way, the keys over here that I'm pressing are displayed on the bottom left corner, so I know I might be going a little bit fast. I don't want this tutorial to be too long, but you can always rewind and see what's going on in the bottom left corner. So I'm going to add a plane, right? And I'm going to zoom to selected by hitting Shift B, or I can press the period on the number pad, or I can hit the squiggly underneath the escape key. I call it a squiggly. And then you click view selected once you have it selected, right? So this is how you focus your view on what you're working on. Then I'm going to rotate this. So I'm going to press R to rotate, and I'm going to rotate it along the green axis, which is up here. You can see it's Y. So R to rotate, and you can press Y on the keyboard, but I like to do things really fast. So when I press R, I hold in the scroll wheel, and you see this white line. What you're going to want to do is align this white line to the axis you want to rotate on. See what's happening here? You align it, and it locks to that axis, right? So I want it to go align to this one, so I'm going to let go, and then I can rotate it. And then I can type a value of 90, like that. And in the bottom left, you see you have a little pop-up, which you can then change the angle again if you didn't like it. Or you can copy the angle, whatever you want. I'm just going to type 90. So it's a straight wall. And then we're just going to bring it up like this. Again, G, middle mouse, move it up, let go. So it's just really fast. You can just go boom, 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 boom. You know, you can really move it around fast. And that's the key with Blender, is because Blender is like so fast, you want to move fast, and you want to design fast, and you want to do that. So you want to have a wall, right? So a wall has thickness, so you're going to go to this modifiers panel over here, which, by the way, what is this? I know it's a little intimidating. This is your render engine, so EV, that's what this is. This is EV, it's real time. You can go to cycles if you want ray tracing and real lighting. I'm going to add like a little light here for demonstration purposes. Oh. Okay, it's on CPU. Maybe put it on GPU. There we go. Yeah, you want to use your GPU. And then you have to enable it, but I'm not going to get into that right now. Anyway, we're going to stay in solid mode. Basically, this is where your rendering properties are. This is where your image properties are. Like for your camera, how much resolution is it? Where is it going to be saved when you export an animation? But we're going to go to modifiers. Modifiers are really powerful because you can do things like do an array, or you can do a bevel, a boolean. If you come from Rhino, these should be familiar. Solidify, this adds thickness, which is what we want, right? So we're going to use solidify. We're going to zoom to selected by pressing numpad or Shift B if you don't have a number pad, and then box select, Shift B, box select. That's a really good one I use a lot. And then we're going to do even thickness. I'll show you what happens if we don't do even thickness. So how do you edit this wall, right? It's right now, think of it as it's grouped. If you want to go in the group, you press tab, or you go up to here and you go to edit mode. I like pressing tab because it's fast. Then you have vertices, right? Because these are the vertices here. Because you're in vertices select. So you have vertices select, you have edge select, and you have face select up here. What we're going to want to do is go to edge select, so we want to select this edge, and I want to extrude this edge over here. So how do we do that? You just press E to extrude, and remember what we did with the scroll wheel? You press it in, or press X, and then you can go like this, and move it, right? Very, very easy, very fast. And you can do things like like this, right? You can make walls like that really fast. Once you get used to the program, it should be more fluid for you. But you can see the walls are not really aligning, so even thickness fixes that. And then you can say, oh, I want my walls to be 8 inches. So you can click in here and do 8 inches. Boom. You could also do math in Blender. So if you want to do 8 inches plus whatever, or like times 5 for some reason, you can do that. Oh, there we go. Took a minute. And now it multiplies. So you can do math in Blender. You can do 1 plus 1 in Blender, 2 plus 2 in Blender. But I'm going to do 8 inches because that's normally what an exterior wall is. Alright, so then we got our walls. And we're just going to do a simple house. Let's take this away. So we're going to delete the vertices. And we're just going to connect it. So how do you snap it exactly against here? Well, you go to your snapping tools, you go to your edge select, or edge snapping, and then you G to grab, and then move it along the x-axis. Hold Control. Holding Control uses this snapping. So you move your mouse where you want it to snap to, and then you hold Control. You see what's happening here? You have that little icon. That means it's snapping to the edge. And that's exactly perfectly aligned with that edge. If you want to join these two, you press F, right? And that fills it in. And then you don't want this line here, so you're going to, instead of deleting the edge, which does this, you want to dissolve the edge. This is just how Blender works. There's a reason for it, but I'm not going to get into it. It's just, you have to get used to how the program works. And then once you do it, it's like unstoppable. It's a great program. Really powerful. Alright, so we have our walls. Let's do our interior walls. So again, we're going to add a plane. Shift A to add. Remember, you can look down here. Shift A, plane, rotate it 90 degrees. And I'm just going to do this fast to show you like how fast you can use Blender to create these type of creations here. And then you can do this for like a wall here, and then you want a wall here. And maybe you want a wall here, like that. And I know it's thin right now, but I'm going to show you what you can do. Boom, 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 right? Very fast. Look how fast I did that. And then you can add a modifier, right? We're going to do solidify modifier. And what's happening is there's some errors. To fix that, there's a different preset. Sometimes you're going to want to use simple, but for this case, we're going to want to use complex. Now you can see what's happening here. And this is a problem because of the normals. So if you want to visualize the normals, you can see what I mean by clicking here, face orientation. This is one side and this is opposite side, right? You want them all to be consistent if you want the wall to be sliding right through here. So you're going to select it and you're going to do Alt-N and flip the normals. Now it's blue, turn it on, and it works, right? So there's your walls. We're going to do 4 inches. And by the way, if you don't want to see the meters in the metric system, you can go over here to the scene, go to units, and change it to imperial. And what I like to do for the length is adaptive, because if you go to this end properties, well, actually, for example, here it's showing 4 inches, but here it's showing 10 feet because it would make sense to show feet instead of inches. So it's adaptive. If it's small units, it's going to show the inches. If it's larger units, it's going to show feet or whatever, right? There we go. There's your walls. But now you want to add doors. Let's turn off face orientation, right? So let's add our walls, right? Our doors. So there's 2 ways to do this. I'm going to show you both ways. If you go to edit mode by pressing tab, you can add a loop cut which follows the quads, which quads are made up of one. I like this color. Hold on. Let me change the color here. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. So it's gonna slice it all the way through. So it's either gonna be there or there, right? So let's get rid of that. Oops. So it's gonna follow the edges that are connected by 4, right? I know it's a little confusing, but it'll make sense. And then what you could do is I'm going to say I want a door here, I want a door here, and I want a door here. So I can select all of them, See, all of them are selected. And I'm going to do Control B to bevel. So this is going to create the thickness of the door. And notice it's doing it for all of them. So I can click here, and I can say instead of offset, I want a width. So I want my width to be 3 feet, probably 2 feet for interior doors. And there you go, there's your width of 2 feet. And then if you want to have your height established, you can add a loop cut here, add a loop cut here. Remember, look at here. Control R. And then if you want to select this loop cut, remember, connected by connected by quads, you hold Alt. I'm going to hold Shift as well, so I keep this selection. Click and click, and then I can move it up. But what if you want a certain distance from the ground? So what I like to do is have my snapping on, move it all the way to the base, and then move it up, right? So it's a point from here to here. Then we can establish, okay, I want it to be 8 feet. No, well, not 8 feet. 6 foot. Oh, you can do this too. 6 feet symbol, 8 inches symbol. Which the walls are not tall enough. 1 second. Let me fix that. So I'm going to select both of the objects, go to edit mode. I'm going to go to a side perspective by pressing this X. And I'm going to go to X-ray by Shift Z, pressing Shift Z. So it goes to X-ray, right? You can also do it up here, X-ray and wireframe. But it's a shortcut, right? Shift Z. You gotta learn those shortcuts. Because it's fast. And then we're just gonna move this up like that. And then click these. Right? So now it should be taken off. So now when we move it up, we can do 6 feet, 8 inches. There, now it's correct. And then you select these faces. And then you can delete only, just faces right here. And there you go, there's your opening. We can add a plane. You hold Shift and right click for your 3D cursor. Sorry, I should have explained this. This 3D cursor is where your objects spawn in. And then you add a plane. And if you want to walk around in your scene, you can go to View, Navigation, Walk Navigation. I assigned the shortcut Shift F to do that. You just right click and assign shortcut and press Shift F. So when I do Shift F, you can walk around in your scene and use the scroll wheel to speed up, or slow down. Kind of like that, right? And then press G to enable gravity so you can walk around. So now we're just going to walk around in our model. Right? Yeah. Okay, so now let's add a roof. Oh, sorry, one more thing. That was the first method to create the openings, but I really like this method. If you can add a box, so I'm going to click this box here. I'm just going to add like a door, like that. And if I press N, you can have the dimensions here. If you're in item, you can see the dimensions here. And I'm going to say I want this to be 6 feet 8 inches tall. And let me see, what is it? Z, Y, X. And X is going to be 2 feet wide. And then this one is going to be that, like that. So we're going to be using a Boolean for this, right? So if you click this wall, you can go and add a Boolean, and click on this, right? So you have your solidify, so it makes the walls, and then it's going to do a Boolean. So we assigned the object to the cube, and I'm going to check fast, just because it's faster and less laggy. And if I put it in the wall, what you're going to see happen is that if I hide it, it's cutting. But if you want to visualize it, I like to go to the object properties, go to viewport display, and change textured to wire or bounds. Right? Either or, depending on what you're doing. And then what you can do is you can see, like, once you move this, it's gonna cut your mesh like that. However, wherever you put this, it's gonna cut, right? Boom. And then I can snap to the face, and it'll go all the way to the base, which looks like the walls are floating. So we can just move that down as well. Now you're gonna see, this is the thing with fast, is if there's overlapping exactly at one point, overlapping mesh or faces or whatever, edges, you're gonna have to use exact. Like that. Sometimes I'm a little finicky. You can see it's a little bit of extra. I just push it in a little bit like that, and then that works. And then what you could do is, let's say we fill these in. I'm going to select these two faces and press F. Fill these two faces. Fill these two faces. Let's say you want to move this door. You can Shift D to duplicate and move it over here. But it's not working because it's only the Boolean is only referencing this object. If you want it to reference multiple objects, you can change it to collection, and then add these doors by pressing M to a new collection called Boolean, just for organization. And then once you click on your walls, you can click on Boolean. And now, wherever you put these Booleans, honestly, keep it on fast. It's a little, yeah. You just have to, the Booleans are a little tricky in Blender, but it does the job for the most part. And then you can rotate this 90 degrees, and then let's say you want a door here. And you could just easily, you know, in architecture, you're always changing the design. So it's like low effort to just kind of move these around. And the same concept goes for the windows, right? So if you want to have a window here, just go to Edit Mode, and make your window here. And then I can select this, add a Boolean to the wall, because that's what is going to be cutting. And then you can click on the cube. I'm going to change it to fast, right? Oh, sorry, collection. And change it to Boolean. There you go. Boom. Boolean. You could do one here, and here. Right? So, I mean, you could just make a house very fast with this method. Like that, right? And let me see something. If you want to move this a certain distance from the wall, you can turn it off. I think actually you have to be in edit mode for this. Go to edit mode, move it to the edge, and then move it over, and then you can specify your distance, like 3 feet from the wall or whatever. And you could also do it from the interior wall too. Move it over 2 feet from the interior wall, or from the interior side of the wall. And then there you go. So let's do a roof. Now with Blender you can't really make a roof easily, a traditional roof easily, without add-ons. But luckily there is a free add-on that you can get from this GitHub, which all you have to do to get it, I know this is complicated, I'll leave a link in the description for this, but just hit code, download zip, and then download it here, right? I already downloaded it, so it's there. And then what you do is you go File, Preferences, Add-ons, right? Because this is an add-on, and then you're just going to install from your disk. You're going to go to Downloads, and you're going to, what was it called? Building, there it is. Click it, it's going to enabled, and then what you can do is, how you use it now is I'm going to add a plane here, and I'm going to move this plane over here and over here and over here to get the mesh over here as well. Let's add a loop cut and then snap it to here. Remember, holding control, extrude, and then we're going to go here and here, extrude, extrude, or loop cut, extrude. There we go. This is our footprint. This is basically what I wanted, is the footprint of the house, roof, right? Then we're going to select all, and then we're going to go to, if you go here in the side by pressing N, if you don't see it, there's something called, hold on, I don't think it was enabled. Add-on, called? Building. Ah, it wasn't enabled, sorry. And then go to building tools, add roof. Look, it's as easy as that. Look at that. Outset, if you don't want an outset, you can, whoops. Whoa. If you don't want an outset, you can set this to 0. So it's literally right against. Oh, I don't think you can. Let me undo. Add roof. Outset, you can have it come out a little bit like that. Oh, why is it doing that? Like that. And then you can change the height, right? And this is just like a traditional house roof. So if at any point you don't want like a hip roof here and you want a gable roof, you can just go to vertice select by pressing 1. Select this, move it, and then there you go, there's your hip roof. So that's basically how you can create a simple house in Blender. I know it's not finished, but this is just give you an idea of how to do architectural modeling in Blender. Now this is just for a simple house. But what if you go to Google, and as an architecture student, we don't do simple houses. We like to be abstract, and we like to be experimental in our designs to do stuff like this, right? Something interesting, something non-traditional. So I found this online, and I'm going to use this, save as. But look, it's a WEBP. Sometimes you just have to erase the end and put PNG, save, and it will literally save a PNG. I already have it downloaded here. So I can just drag this into here like that. You could also go in your files and drag it into here like that. See? And then what you're gonna do is, if you want it flat, you can go to Item, Rotation, and it to 0. Boom. Now you have your floor plan here. To scale the floor plan, normally what you would do is you'd find a dimension. I assume this is around 2 feet. So what I would do is I would add my 3D cursor here, add a plane, and make it 2 feet by 2 feet. And then place it right exactly where it's supposed to be. And then selecting so this is 2 feet, a 2 foot distance right here. So I'm going to select the floor plan. I'm going to reference my 3D cursor and then scale it. Ready? Ooh. We go to the top down. Scale it. Now sometimes this goes underneath. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say for my image properties, I'm going to turn on an opacity so I can see through it a little bit. And the white is a little bit harsh too. So I'm going to select this plane, or not the plane, the floor plan, and then like that. So now it should be scaled, right? Now, because it's not a SVG, you can't scale it exactly. If it was a vector line work, you would be able to scale it exactly. But this is good enough for what we're doing here. So, how do you create these curving walls and these organic shapes and these angles and all that? It's not hard in Blender. So, I'll show you the basic idea. You want to use primitives. So you can see how this is more of like a circular shape, right? So what you would use is a circle as your mesh to start. So I'm going to place my 3D cursor about the center of where it is and add a circle. Then we're going to scale up the circle in edit mode like this, and then kind of align it close to where it is. So you'll notice I'm going to press slash to isolate it. That's another cool tool in Blender, is you can just press slash and it'll just hide everything else in the scene real quick. And to go back, you just press slash. You'll notice it's made up of segments, and it's not a very smooth edge, but that's okay because we're going to be using modifiers to create the organic form work, right? So there's going to be a circle here, and then we're going to move it over and create a circle here. And why not? We'll create another one here, which maybe we need to scale down a little bit, like this. Remember, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me either in the comment section or on my Discord server. I'm pretty active. So there we go. There's our circles. And then what you're going to do is you're going to make them walls. So you're going to extrude them up like that. I'm going to assume this is 8 or 9 feet. Maybe 8 feet. Like that. So there's our walls. To create a connection here, we're just going to remove these faces, right? Just remove them. And then for these as well, you're just going to remove where they're overlapping like that. By the way, I'm clicking here and holding Control, so I don't have to select each one individually. I could just hit the start and end, and it connects the faces in the selection. Boom, boom, delete. Something like that. And then you just fill them in. So you select these two, press F, these two, press F, these two, press F to fill, these two, F to fill. And then this is a little dramatic, so we'll just edge slide it, right? So you want to slide it along this edge here, press G twice. And then you could just edge slide it like that, and like that. Boom. Now we got that type of floor plan, right? But it's not good enough. You want it to be more curvy, right? More organic. So you're going to go to the modifiers and add a subdivision surface. And look what this does. If you increase the count, you don't want to increase this too much or your computer will likely crash, or your Blender will crash, not your computer. But look, see what it's doing? It's creating like a nice curve around where the mesh is. So this is what it's doing. You can kind of see it's kind of like creating like a subdivision over the low poly or low detail model here, right? So you can just kind of arrange this to be however you want. You can move this, and if you want to move it like this, you can also hit the tool over here, right? But I don't recommend it because it gets in the way. So yeah, there you go. And then you can also do Shift Z to move it along just the two axes, right? On the floor, basically, instead of grabbing it and it goes everywhere. Same concept as if you were to drag this blue plane with that, but I'm not going to. Alright, there you go. And then you can add a solidify modifier like we did before, right? Like that. And then there's your solidified. If you want to go to the top down, you can kind of see it better. I'm going to assume, let me think, this is probably, 3 inches. Oh, let me apply the scale. Um, 4 inches? Interesting. Okay, I guess it's 4 inches. You could also adjust the offset, so where the walls are in relation to this face, right? And then you could just kind of place it. I'm just going to do that. It's close enough. If you don't want to see these edges, just right click and do Shade Auto Smooth, and it should make it nice and smooth for you. So there you go. Now, what's really cool about Blender is you can easily make this more complex. For example, if you want to do something like this, I'm going to edge select number 2. And so I'm going to select every other edge. So click here and here, and then do Control Shift plus, Control Shift plus, and it'll go all the way around just like that. And if I want to scale along the center and scale them outward, what you can do is, have your 3D cursor as the reference point, scale, and then so they're going to get big, so you want to just keep them on the same axis. So Shift Z, and that just does that. So you can do something really cool like this, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then if you want to make them even more organic, you can add a loop cut. Remember, it's following the quads. And then you can basically go over here and rotate it. Oops, you get a better view. Rotate it like this, so you can get this kind of cool pattern. You can scale it out like this. I'm going to do a combination of the two. So yeah, welcome to Blender. This is like really good for conceptual design work, and even like regular architecture work, right? So interior walls, same concept as over here. I'm not really going to go over that again, but you just extrude. Let me show you how to do this chamfer though. So you're going to add a plane, rotate it, align it. I'm just going to make the corner like that. And then solidify 4 or 5 inches, even thickness. Watch this. So if you click this edge and you do Control B, which is to bevel, you can chamfer it just like that. If you want it to be rounded, just scroll your mouse wheel just like that. So it's really powerful what you can do. You see? You can do that. Alright, so let's say you want to do a more complex roof design for this structure. What you can do is add a plane for your starting mesh right here. I'm just going to move it. I'm going to move it to the center because my origin, you can see this orange dot is already in the center. So I'm going to do Shift S, cursor to selected. Select this, Shift S, cursor to selected, or selection to cursor rather. So it moves the origin of this object to this 3D cursor. So now it's exactly in the center. And then I'm just going to move it up, scale it, not from the 3D cursor. I'm going to scale it like that. Let me think. No, I'm gonna put it over here. Maybe we'll add a loop cut like that, and then we can cover this side over like this. Okay? And then what you can do is select this face and rotate it kind of like some kind of cool structure. We're going to be doing a ruled surface, similar to the mountain house I showed earlier. And then rotate this one as well. And then this one maybe can be, I don't know, something like that, right? Something interesting, right? Like that. And then to make this even better, add a subdivision surface. You can see like we're using the same type of modifiers over and over. Solidify, subdivision, Boolean. Those are the primary ones you'll be using. And then you can increase the subdivision count and kind of play with it, you know? If you want the edges to be sharp, select the outer edges like this, and then go to your mean crease, and then you can do that. So now it's really sharp. Oops, just this one. And create that kind of structure. I don't want this one to be, right? So this one could be curved, or it could be sharp. It's up to you. So you can play around with it. Now, how do you bring the walls up? Oh, this is too low. How do you bring the walls? Let me, 1 second, turn this off. There we go. How do you bring the walls up to the roof? So what I like to do a shade smooth, is duplicate this and hide it so we have it, a copy of it, right? What we're going to do is we're going to convert this to a mesh so that it applies all the modifiers, and we're left with just the ruled surface. And I'm going to extrude it up and scale it on the z-axis to 0. So it's literally just this type of structure, which this in itself is pretty cool, honestly, right? This could be like a building in itself, right? But we're just going to move the walls up into here. So the reason we're doing that is because anything intersecting with this is going to be removed. So we'll just select the loop cut by pressing Alt-click. So that selects all of these faces, and then you could just extrude it up into the structure, just like that. And let's see, it's all in, it looks like it. Yep. Then we can collapse all of these and do a Boolean, right? Boolean into this. Now we might want to do fast. Yeah, fast will work, thankfully. And then when you want to hide this, I like to press M to move it to a new collection in here to keep organization. I'm going to call it hide, because we don't really need to see this anymore. This is just affecting our cutting, right? And the best thing about Blender is when you hide this, right, you have this structure, but you can also still edit it, right? And it'll update the cut automatically. So if you want to move this in like that for some reason, you can do that. And it will match the cut along the roof here, right? So it's called non-destructive modeling, which is what these modifiers are. They're non-destructive, right? Okay, so I'm going to do Alt-H to unhide. So this was our original mesh. You can see how it's literally exactly right up against this mesh here. Now, let's say we want to do another fancy maneuver. Let's say we wanted to add wood beams that go across the structure here. So I'm going to duplicate it again and hide it for copy. And I'm going to just add some loop cuts. You see, this is where the loop cuts are. I'm going to add a series of edges like that, and this is where we can fix that in a minute. This is where our beams are going to go, right? So let's see what's happening. Why is that doing that? Ah, yes. Select these and just turn off the mean crease. Yeah. Here we go. Then what we're going to do is we're going to select only these. So Control Shift plus, 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 plus. Selecting all of them. Control Shift plus. I'm going to duplicate and separate. Actually, I don't have to duplicate. I could just press P to separate the selection. Now I can delete this, and we're left with our beams. But look, they're like curved, which, you know, you could do that, which we probably would want to do, right? Yes, we would. But you could also make them a more harsh cut by just basically changing the crease. Right? Ooh. It's not doing it. For some reason. Oh, turn this off? Yeah, you just turn off, yeah, never mind. You would just turn off the subdivision, or remove the subdivision entirely. Which, I like the curve, so I'm going to keep it. And look at this, this is like creating some kind of rotational motion, but it's straight, it's made of straight edges. So this is how you can create curves in real life, you know, with wood. So now what we're going to do is, I'm just going to apply, no, I don't think I have to apply. You don't really want to apply these that much. Yeah, you don't have to apply it. So I'm going to move it down. Let's say these are 2 by 8, so I'm going to do -8 inches, like that. And there's your 2 by 8 pieces of wood. And if you want thickness, remember, you just go to solidify. And then you can add a thickness. Let's say it's 2 by, right? So it's always going to be 2 by something. So it's 2 inches thick. And if you want it to be in the middle, just put 0. What I mean by the middle is in relation to the original mesh. You want it on this side, or at 0. And look at that, we have our beams. So now if we unisolate and Alt-H to unhide, you can see, now we would have to clean this up a little bit more. I know this isn't exactly there, but you just move them down. I'm not sure why that happened. Oh, let me fix it. I'll do it the right way, right? So what I do, I'll just apply, because sometimes the modifiers can mess things up like that. So I'm just gonna boom, boom, Control Shift plus. Ooh. And then I'm gonna, you know what, I'm just gonna manually do it. And then here to here. I don't think. Forgot what it was, sorry. Alright. And then separate, and then delete the old mesh. And then extrude this down. Extrude this down by a distance of 8 inches, -8 inches. And then solidify 2 inches, offset even, 0. And there we go. Now it's correct. See? There we go. Now you have this type of, this almost looks like a 3D printed house, if you've ever seen what those look like, which is pretty cool. And then we have this, which is still a modifier, so you can pull it up and do crazy stuff with it. But I don't think we need the subdivision anymore. So I'm going to apply it so it's actual mesh geometry, and I can just extrude this up like that. And if you want a place for insulation, you can extrude this again, maybe, or whatnot, and then have a gap like that. I don't know, whatever you want to do. And then if you want to have something along here, you can just take this edge, all the edges, right? So I'm going to hold Control, select all the edges around it, like, oops, like that. Duplicate, separate by pressing P, selection, select it again, just extrude it down. There's your siding, solidify, look at that. There's your wood pieces that go along the outside to cover it, like that. It's like your sideboard, or whatever, fascia. There you go. Now let's go into how to create stairs. So basically, you just want to add a cube, and the dimension of a typical stair is 711, right? So the width is going to be, or the depth really, is going to be 11 inches for your foot to rest. And then this is, the height is going to be 7 inches. So there's our stair. And then we're going to apply, see this scale over here? Because we had adjusted the dimensions from over here, the scale is going to be messed up. So when we do stuff with our modifiers, it's going to mess that up. You always want to make sure this is 111. So to fix that, just apply the scale by pressing Control A, pressing scale. Then we're going to do an array. Not relative offset. Relative offset just means it's going to do an array based off of the endpoint. But we want to specify an exact point, which is, we have the distance, right? This distance is going to be 11 inches. And it's going to go up 7 inches. So there you go, there's your stair. And you can just increase the amount of steps that you have. You don't want too many, but for this purpose I'll do this many. And then look, once you can add a loop cut here and extrude this out, and whatever you change to the original, it's going to do to all of them. If this was an outside light, you can inset by pressing I, scale it, and you can do little lights here. Notice how it's hard to see what's going on? I like to go down here and enable cavity and hit both. There you go. So now it's really easy to see what's happening here. You know, you could just do that, and then there's like a light. But for this purpose, we're not going to do that. Now let's say you want to have this like a spiral stair. You want to have it rotating or whatever. So I'm going to put my origin to this location, Shift S, and or my 3D cursor to the origin, Shift S, and then add a curve, or which I use a path. I like the path curve the best. So you could just move this and it's like a curve here. And then I'm going to, well, have this have this stair follow the path of the curve. So I'm going to add a modify called curve, like that, right? So now whenever you, I'm just gonna let me scale this up a little. Whenever you do a rotation now, it's going to follow the path like that. So that's pretty cool. Now keep in mind, if you do too much of a turn, it might start clipping. So just be careful with that. And then you got your little spiral, and you can put it anywhere you want, right? And if you want to have a landing, I like to press Alt D, so it's a link. It's a instanced copy instead of a regular copy, which means you know, if you move it along this axis, you can see it following the curve. Which means if I change this one, it changes the other one, right? Then I'm just going to move this up to the base of this, pressing G, B for a reference point. I'm going to use this as my reference point, and then I'm going to snap it to here, like that. And then you can just fill this in with a mesh or a plane. G. Oops, I'm going to do snapping to vertices, just doing this really fast, just for proof of concept. And then you could just extrude this down. Oh, I forgot. See, this is the good thing with instances. So if you forget to do something, you can change it, and it's easy. So go to edit mode, zoom to selected, or shift B in box select. I'm going to click this button here so I can select all of them, not just this one. And I'm going to move this down a distance of 7 inches. There we go. And then click on merge. And merge on this one as well. So look, now it's doing that type of stair structure that you want, right? So that's how you do it. I know you can always change it. Now this isn't on the modifier, but you could just change the path of where they're going, you know? So it's really powerful. So I think, I think that's, and remember to save as well. I'll do that in another tutorial. But yeah, I think that's it. So you can either go from making a simple house like this to a complex structure like this. And again, I'll just show you again, like if you want to put a window here, just add a cube, rotate the cube like that, and then add a boolean. I'm going to do collection, add this. Ooh, that was a bad idea. See, sometimes it can lag. Let me just do object for now. And then you can select that object. And I'm going to have this displayed as wire. And look, you can just put this anywhere you want. Now it's a little bit laggy now because we have a lot going on. But is it on fast? Oh, it's on zacked. It's zacked. That's why. So if you do it on fast, oh, it's still a little slow. Oh well. It still does it. But you can even go in here and do this area, which is really complex, and you can get these type of cuts in here, you know? You could extrude it, make it wider. And then just real quick, for graphic representation, if you want to see the wireframe of the object, click down here, click wireframe, and change the opacity just a little bit to be lower. And then you can have a nice little graphic like this, right? So look at this area, this is cool. So yeah, that's how you can do architectural modeling techniques in Blender. So I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, you know, just leave a comment down below or message me on Discord. Yeah, so take care. Bye everyone.